You found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Russo, and with the permission of creator Adam Sinkus, we are taking over Winning Tactics today. I have with me my good friend Tim Washburn. We've been friends about, I'd say, 8 years now, probably.
Yes, sir.
8 years, incredible dude, excellent businessman, and so Tim, introduce yourself and what do you do?
Cool, thanks, Josh. Yeah, it's been a great 8 years knowing you. Knew you in Colorado, moved out to Florida. We're still good friends, still keep in contact. Actually, we have a business together as well, joint venture. So yeah, thanks for the intro. I'm Tim Washburn. I own a few different companies. I started computer repair work when I was 12, and things just kind of grew from there.
Awesome.
In 2010, I started a company, just a residential IT repair company, break fix sort of deal. And, we planned on only servicing residential IT, right. And that turned into residential IT that had business owners. And those business owners said, hey, I know you don't do business IT, but how about you try it?
How about you try? Yeah.
So, that grew and grew. In 2013, we saw a pretty big need in our area just for business IT. And we really decided to make that our focus. So we still continued with the residential IT, but decided to, really focus on the business IT side as well. Mm-hmm. And that evolved pretty quickly, actually. And in 2016, it got to the point where I realized that residential IT and business IT are two completely different industries.
They're different animals, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And they needed to be separated as mm-hmm. well. And, trying to do everything under one roof, one umbrella, really just wasn't the answer. And so we split off, and Computer Doctors still runs our residential IT company. Mm-hmm. Integrity Technologies was born, and that took over all of our cloud hosting and also all of our MSP, managed service provider.
Right. And it's interesting because I believe you opened 6 months before I met you, and we were actually competing stores.
Yeah.
And then it was like, hey, I'm right across the street. Hey, cool. And then we grew that relationship over time, like you were saying. And then I started, I think, buying parts from you, right? I was buying parts from you and laptops mm-hmm. and reselling, and then you moved. Well, you moved from across the mall to the what's that called? College Road, Drake? Was it Drake?
Yeah,
Drake.
College Prospect.
College and Prospect. Okay.
Yeah.
And then now you're on.
We're on Lemay and Prospect now.
Lemay and Prospect over in Fort Collins. Awesome. So speaking of so you've been doing this, sounds like, since 2011. You said
2010.
2010. Awesome. Yeah. So in this course of now, I guess it's been 10 years. Happy anniversary. So 10 years of doing computer repair and computer stores and IT. What is one thing you wish you had known when you began this career?
I would say know your worth, okay, and then charge your worth.
Right.
I had a problem with giving away my time, mm-hmm. In a monetary form. it's just, well, I'll just do you a quick favor. I'll just do you a quick favor. I'll just do this for you. Or, that seems like a little bit too much. How about we just charge this? And I felt like that was the way to grow a business through word of mouth marketing, which it did. And, our word of mouth was incredible, an incredible source for marketing. But, I wasn't getting paid.
So it sounds like how, sorry to interrupt, but it sounds like how a lot of people start getting into IT, right? They fix a couple computers for their friends or family. They're like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. And then they start to do it as like a business, right? If you will, right? A business. And then you realize that like, everyone's like, hey, this is the computer guy / friend of mine. And you're like, wait, no, I need to make money. I need to feed my family. I need to like pay my bills, right? Is that what you kind of went through?
Well, yeah. And also, not so much I needed to get paid, which I did. I had a family that, had just started, but my employees also need to get paid.
Right.
And, if you can't pay your employees a sufficient amount, they'll only, as great of a leader as you can be and as great of a boss as you can be and the perks that you can give, they still need to get,
and they still need to get compensated.
So they can, start their families, buy their own homes, that sort of thing. And, the alternative is, working for half the price and working twice the hours, right?
Twice the hours. So they say entrepreneurs are the only ones that work 80 hours to avoid working 40, right? And then we make less pay and we make less because we don't figure out, and then it sounds like, you have to find employees and you have to delegate and you have to pay them well because otherwise you're at capacity, right? There's nothing else. You can't take on more work. You don't have work-life balance, even though, you want to work hard, but like you're not able to, you know what I mean? Like balance all that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was advised that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're not charging enough. Well, we're just, we don't have to. Our overhead is low. Our overhead is low because we weren't paying, people what they needed to be paid.
I think you and I, because we talk a lot, right? I think we talked about that last year, and you took another look at the market price and realized you were like 30% under, probably.
Yeah,
something like that, right? Yeah. So leading into that, like, when we talk about these things and these mistakes, like what is one of your biggest failures in this whole journey and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I would say, just stretching myself too thin. There's a few failures that I could point to specifically that I've learned a lot of things from. But, just stretching myself too thin, making too many promises. And then in order to make good on those promises, you're just working like crazy and your family suffers and, your health suffers. You're the one that's suffering to make sure that your customer is taken care of. And then, even things is going as far as giving away your personal cell phone number just for that extra level of customer service. And that was a big piece that I had to, take a step back from in, 2017, 2018, especially, just, you need to call my staff because they're the ones that I paid to take care of this.
Yeah, you pay me. So
otherwise you're getting those, text messages at 10:30 at night on Christmas Eve because Microsoft Word won't open.
Yeah. And you love your customers and you've known them a long time, but like, 10 p.m. on a Christmas Eve is not necessarily the best. Yeah. Yep. No, and it sounds familiar. I mean, for people listening or viewing this, video in the future, whenever they view it, I mean, an example, and I'll let you speak on that, but I think one of the great examples, like when you're in the computer business, somebody comes in and they need their computer right away, so you're like, yeah, I'll get this, done for you today or the next day, and then what happens, right? Like talk about that snowball because I think that's important for people to understand.
Right. Well, yeah, you set that expectation that it's going to be like that every single time. And as much as you would love to, churn a job around, in 2-3 hours or, next day, whatever's possible, you set a poor expectation. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, one thing that I preach to my employees very often is setting proper expectations.
Mm-hmm. Giving
So,
good like project finish times, like, so
mhm.
instead of saying like next day or that day, like give yourself breathing room, give it 2-3 days, right? Does that sound right? To really investigate what's going on with the computer, make sure you can fix everything, because some of this IT work could take what, like 6-7 hours just to, right, to get
Oh,
to. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And
So.
without those proper expectations, really you lose and the customer loses.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that happen before where, my employees don't tell, a customer, hey, we're backed up. We're looking at, that 3 to 5 business days right now for a diagnostic.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, if you tell them that, they say, okay, I understand. But
Yeah.
they can't take that long, and they're like, well, what's reasonable in my head? I think reasonable is maybe 2 to 3 hours, but that's what I'm going to call back, right?
Like it's, if you go to get your car detailed,
Hmm.
maybe that's a good time frame, right? Like 2-3 hours. But
Hmm.
if you're getting your computer fixed, and you got a very successful store over there, and you've got 30 people that come in, what, every two, I mean, it's probably like what, 10 to 15 computers a day on average, customers.
Yeah,
So.
well, every morning I look over all of our productivity chart,
Mm-hmm.
all pro web tools,
Mm-hmm.
and it tells us just how many jobs we have in each queue.
Mm-hmm.
And so we average about 80 customer jobs in our store at one time. You
Wow.
know,
That's
not all of
amazing.
those we're working on. Some of them are waiting to be picked up. Some are
Mm-hmm.
waiting for parts. Some are waiting for approval. But we still have 80 jobs that we're juggling. And I don't think that most customers expect that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great points. So, I mean, I hear it, it sounds like, you're talking a lot about expectation. It's better to tell somebody, hey, it's going to be 3 to 5 days, than try to like appease them thinking that you're giving like great customer service, and then telling them next day, and then all of a sudden it's like now they're disappointed in you. Right,
Hmm.
because now they expected it the next day, and you're pushing the next day. So you're like, no, no, no. End of today, we'll have it. And then like, end of today
Right.
comes, they're calling you, right? And so, and now they're calling your cell phone. So it sounds
Hmm.
like really having that level of expectation,
Right.
and that leads, I think, into integrity, which we named this podcast "Leading with Integrity" because your business is Integrity Technologies, right? And
That's right.
so, what does leading with integrity mean to you, as far as like leading from expectations and service to the integrity of it all? Like, what does that mean to lead with integrity for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they say the only thing a person has is their word.
Mm-hmm.
Without your word, you have nothing, right?
Wow, that's deep.
Um,
That's some gold
I
right there.
mean, I've been in the area for 15 years. I've been in Fort Collins for 15 years. Know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Plan on staying here, and most of our business, really does come down to word of mouth. And as long as you treat every job, treat every customer, treat every interaction with integrity,
Mm-hmm.
the rest is easy, right?
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it fixes a lot of things. I mean, when
Mhm.
hiring people, when coaching people, when dealing with customers, with setting expectations, with having a good quality product, right? Like all of that comes. What I'm hearing you say is it all comes from the integrity of a person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and over the years, as things get more expensive and you have to bump up those prices,
Mm-hmm.
customers, they know, with the relationship that we've built, and it's not just me,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
me
yeah.
and my staff, um, because we hire, people with integrity as well. Um, and we fire quickly when we find that, it's not quite up to snuff.
Right.
But, as those price bumps that are necessary happen, our customers, they realize, they say, okay, that's fine. I know that you're not just trying to price gouge me because you can. I understand that, that's just something that you need to do in your business in order to, feed your family and feed your employees' families and, get them where they need to be as well.
There's so much we could talk about because I know there's like so many tangents, like, the 3% standard of living. And if most people get a 3% raise, inflation. But like I did this one time because I'm very analytical, and I looked at gas and I looked at milk, and gas is like crazy because gas will go down to like what it was in the 90s. Like, so we think, oh, gas is so expensive, but the gas like fluctuates so crazy. I mean, it was like under $2 or between $2 and $2.25 recently. So it's like crazy. But like milk, I see milk and I look at that, and that's gone up like, that'll go up like 10 to 15%. So it just depends on what it is, right? Like if you're trying to buy food versus rent or whatever. But it's just interesting, like, so people are understanding like everything's getting more expensive as it goes. But some things also can get cheaper depending on, what the item is. So, but I want to
manufactured goods. Manufactured goods a lot of times get cheaper and cheaper because they have cheaper and cheaper ways of manufacturing them or outsourcing, making them cheaper. But I think the biggest driver on that cost of living is is your rent. I think it's 2018. I think the average person was spending 60% of their paycheck on rent.
That's so crazy, isn't it?
That's what the metric was. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So there's something else you touched on. I want to hop in there real quick and talk about it. So we talked about, hiring with integrity and firing quick. And we've talked about this, and I've noticed it. I've had people, and maybe you could speak to this, but I've had people that I've just poured into and invested in for 6-7 months, and it just didn't work out, and I realized that I should have fired him maybe the first week or second week. Right. And then there's other people you don't expect to rise to the challenge, and they do. So can you speak on that a little bit, just to help business owners understand the process of like the culture and hiring and how to keep that culture?
Yeah. I mean, I think culture is a huge piece of that. They've got to mesh with your team. If they don't mesh with your team and your company values, then there's no point in continuing that insanity, right? That 6-7 months that you're talking about, trying to make them work. Yeah. If they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit. And I think that it's better to cut people loose when you realize this thing's just not going to work out. I think kind of that like 3-week time. I think in the first 3 weeks you can get a pretty good idea of who are they, how do they perform in different scenarios, and how do they fit into the culture. Because if they don't fit into your culture, your company culture at all, then I used to have an old business coach that said, if you're not rowing the boat, you're rocking it.
Wow, that's a good one. That's some gold right there. Yeah. If you're not rowing the boat, you're rocking it. Yeah, and some people, they seem like they'd be a good fit until you really start getting to know them and digging deep. Or there's a project where it can be a little stressful. Like, getting a ton of computers in one day. Like, they'll be fine, when it's slow. And then all of a sudden it gets busy and you realize this person doesn't handle stress well. Or they don't handle, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to help, other business owners listening to understand, like, look at yourself first. So integrity and culture is important to you as well as me. That's I think why we gel a lot. But look at yourself, see what your values are, see what's important to you, and then hire based on that. So if you're the type of company that wants to churn and burn product, you're okay with like, a mediocre product or whatever, then that, like, if you're that kind of person, your company will reflect that in the people you hire, right? So you have to look at like, what are you going for? Are we a fly by night, everybody else service, or we a premium quality service, and then build your culture based on that. And it sounds like that's what you've done, is you've built that premium service, that premium culture, right? To really get out there. So I want to ask you, and we're going to segue over to this. This is a really fun one. What is one of the common myths about your profession or your field that you want to debunk for those people, talking about computer repair or IT and thinking of the way things, go in that industry?
Right. Well, a lot of times people think of the computer industry as, like your Best Buy, IT nerds, and, it's like Doritos and Mountain Dew and gaming, that,
The memes
yeah,
that you see, what my friends think I do and what I do.
right.
Yeah.
Um, and that there may be a little bit of that in, the residential IT. It's, like we discussed previously, it's a completely different industry.
Mm-hmm.
In the MSP space, your managed service provider space, it's very different. We act, an MSP that is doing their job is really, they're acting as the CTO for the business that they're
Wow.
providing service to. They're trying to navigate that technology ship, and say, these are the things that are available in the industry. Maybe you know about them, maybe you don't. Maybe you've heard about this cloud thing. Is this cloud thing here to stay? Is it just just one of those, fluff words that you hear in marketing all the time? Do you need to go to the cloud to survive?
Mm-hmm.
And most industries, the answer is, a big yes, a humongous yes.
And what does that do for it's kind of exciting to me. What does that putting things in the cloud do for a business? Like, can you sell yourself a little bit here? Yeah. What does being in the cloud do?
Takes away a lot of their liabilities for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, besides all of the efficiencies that it gains you, just a ton of those liabilities just completely go away. Whether you need to be HIPAA compliant, or, you need to be, whichever industry you're in, whether you're in the, medical or financial sectors, just taking a big chunk of that liability of, whether it's, backing up your local server, getting hit with ransomware, having your, physical data stolen,
Wow.
all of those, just from the liability side, those suddenly are in somebody else's hands now. And you can breathe a little bit easier, instead of, thinking at night, did I do my backup? Did that backup actually work? What's going to happen if something happens to my server? What if my building burns down? All of those little pieces,
Wow.
and especially as small business owners, where so many of us small business owners wear so many hats, relinquishing that to somebody else, is just a huge burden. And especially now, with COVID,
Mm-hmm. Everyone's
so,
working remote, right? So, or a lot of people are, not everybody, but a lot of people.
The world has changed. In the last year, the world has changed, and it will never go back to the way things were, whether we like it or not. That's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And, as, like you just said, people are working at home, needing that flexibility to work at home, whether it's, due to COVID protocols, or whether it's now, your children are home with you, and, you need to take care of your children as well. Just that flexibility to, have, one, for yourself as the business owner, but two, that flexibility that you can give to your employees and say, hey, you can work from home. You can truly work from home and have flexible hours now. I mean, that's huge. That's huge, especially where so many families, are dual income,
Right.
there's not just a single breadwinner. Now it's, dual income. I think it's over 70% of households are dual income now.
Yeah.
And, so, if you want to have a family, have children, that sort of thing, this really enables that.
Yeah, now you have people who their kids would go to school. I've experienced it. I'm sure you've experienced. Their kids were going to school, and now all of a sudden they're home, and your wife or husband now has to work from home, and everything's remote, and they have to make sure their computer works all the time. And if their computer crashes, where does their files or data go? They just put together this huge spreadsheet, right, for the company. They did all these analytics for, you know, the COO or something of a corporation, you know, and now all of a sudden, like, the computer is dead. Where's the data? How do I get the presentation done? So having it all in the cloud, they could just basically get a new computer, log in, and everything's right there, right, from their work desktop, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so it's...
I mean, I always tell our customers, you know, if your computer breaks, you can go to Walmart, get their cheapest computer. Not that I necessarily recommend that.
Yeah.
But you can.
You could.
You can go out there, grab a computer, set it up, you know, in 10 minutes, you're online, you're back, you know, you have back, access to all your files, all your applications, all your settings. Basically, your entire company is just back. You know, a nice thing as well, where, you know, MSPs and cloud meet really nicely is, you know, just that employee management. You know, sometimes you fire an employee, they don't need to have access to your data anymore. You know, suddenly they're just completely locked out.
You just hit a button and they're out. Yeah. No, that's amazing. And then, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, and your MSP takes care of all of that. You don't have to think, okay, do they have access to this or not? Do this, do this, this. Yeah. You know, your MSP can just go, you know, click, 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 boom. Okay, we know that they're off. They're done. You do the HR side of things.
Yeah, you deal with the HR. We took care of the tech side. Exactly. That's amazing. So it sounds like it's super beneficial, and it can not only save the risk, because there's risk involved if something happens. I mean, I live in Florida, right? So we get hurricanes all the time, or at least hurricane threats all the time, right? It seems like it's been skirting us and unfortunately going to Louisiana a lot, or Texas. But we get a lot of threats and we get a lot of hurricanes, and those can destroy a building. They could rip the roof off. They could flood everything. Now you got all your computers, your servers, and everything that are now ruined. Well, if it's backed up in the cloud through somebody like you, then everything's taken care of. Like, they can, I mean, yeah, there's a cost there, but insurance takes care of it. They haven't lost all their clients' data, all their work, all their access. It's all stored safely on your servers through your server network. So yeah, no, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing all that. So now I want to ask you, I want to transition again here. Let's talk about, because we're both into personal development, right? And we're both into, I think, like people like Simon Sinek and, you know, Seth Godin and people like that. So I wanted to ask you, as we wrap up here, who are three of the most influential people to you during this journey in your life, personally or business wise? Who are three most influential people?
Yeah, I would have to start with my parents. You know, not only are they supportive, you know, they've been very supportive all my life. You know, through the million different ventures and things that I've, you know, been interested in, and you know, they've always, you know, helped kind of guide me. But I mean, just that foundation that they laid for, you know, myself and my four older brothers, you know, just from a moral standpoint, you know, just teaching good morals and saying, you know, just do the right thing. You know, if you do the right thing, you can sleep at night and you'll probably keep yourself out of a lot of bad situations, right? You know, and they've, you know, they both have excellent work ethics as well. Taught us responsibilities, and you know, we had a lot of responsibilities, you know, at a very young age, and you know, and they taught, you know, a lot of that, so we'd be a little bit more prepared once we, you know, entered the adult, you know, journey of our lives.
Adult journey. So the total of you is 5 brothers?
Correct.
I knew you had 1 or 2. I didn't realize you had, because I actually we're 5 siblings, so I got 3 sisters and a brother.
Okay.
So that's amazing. I didn't realize we had that in common. I mean, like I said, I know we talked about your other two brothers, but I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So do you have any other people that have been influential in your journey, or?
Yeah, one person that I've always looked up to was my boss at the College of Business. When
Nice.
I was doing IT work for CSU College of Business,
Mm-hmm.
his mentorship was always excellent and appreciated. I didn't learn as much on the tech side from him
Mm-hmm.
as as I did a lot of the just the business sides of things. He used to always say, you can't manage what you can't measure, and that's something that's always stuck with me
That is
because
amazing.
really so many pieces of business, you have your gut feeling,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of times you end up following your gut.
Mm-hmm.
You also need to make sure that the metrics are also there to support those gut feelings, right?
That's
And then
amazing. Yeah.
also, as you're making changes, as you're meeting with, whether it's managers or meeting with, your team, if you don't have a starting point, then how do you know if you're getting better? Maybe you're getting worse. Who knows?
Yeah.
And so,
You might be
it's
a little removed from the situation because of what you're doing. You don't realize there's other fires to put out or something. So having it all measured. Yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's are you getting is your turnaround time, is it faster? Are you maybe you're making more revenue, but you're making less of a profit.
Your
Just
expenses have increased. Yeah.
exactly. And so yeah, you can't measure or you can't manage what you can't measure. That's something that I always keep in the back of my head. Um, and so and I don't get to meet with John nearly as often as I would like, but
Mm-hmm.
just a great mentor.
Great shout out to John, the mentor. That's
Uh,
awesome.
and and finally, I would say also just the business community. The
Mm-hmm.
business community, especially, I mean, we have a very close relationship with the business owners that that we work with because
Mm-hmm.
we are sitting in as that CTO, of their company, trying to, help them, guide through, what this new business looks like and, what they should be implementing into their company. And, just meeting with them and how would you handle this situation with an employee, how would you handle a situation with with a customer, who do you use for fill in the blank,
Right.
all those little pieces, and then sometimes part of that business community would be a lot of your closer like core, like what I call like my fellow hustlers,
Yeah,
right?
right. The
And
Hustler Club. Yeah. Yeah.
just meeting with your fellow hustlers, and sometimes it's for advice, sometimes it's just a vent too, and just be like, man, like this sucks right now,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, I've been there. It does. Sometimes things do suck,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just how it is, and you get through it.
I hear
And
people say in the I think it's the Marines, it's like embrace the suck. So you just
yeah,
like you push through it until you get to the other side, which is a great. I mean, that's what entrepreneurs have to do, right? Like we have to just
yeah,
we have to take the hits, keep getting up, take the hits, keep getting up, and then you learn to dodge the hits, right? So then it gets
right,
better,
right,
right?
yep, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, so it sounds like from the business community, you get the networking, you get the mentorship as well, you get feedback from other people, you get problem solving, and then you just get the empathy from others that is really important to like say like, yeah, we're in the same boat, we can figure it out together and like get through it, right?
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's amazing.
yeah.
So, all right, Tim, this has been fantastic. So where can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about Integrity Technologies or they want to make a connection with you? How would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our website for Integrity Technologies is integtech.net.
Awesome.
Integ, short for integrity, tech.net. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn My handle is Tim-Washburn.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
So final question of the show. And I love your thing behind it. The work while they sleep, learn while they party, save while they spend, and live like they dream. That's amazing. And you mentioned earlier, what gets measured gets done, or what gets managed gets measured, right? And
Yeah.
then sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, there's you probably know what I'm gonna say. There's like another phrase: what gets measured gets done, and also what gets measured and recorded gets done exponentially. So
Yep.
like just measuring, just looking at something and saying, yeah, like we did good. Like, but how good did we do? And then recording it and then comparing it. And then you see, and then when you do that and you try to elevate yourself every day over the day before, it's just exponential. It's insane. So go ahead, because I saw your brain turning on that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean that's great. I mean, just like goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
That I wish that I wish that I would have known about goal setting and all the different things that happen with goal setting. I remember, when I first heard about goal setting, this was probably in 2011, believe it
Wow.
or not. So I've been running the company for a year, and I've been on the earth for 23, 24 years, something like
Right.
that. Never had a black and white this is what you need to be doing for setting goals. And so, I was talking to the leader of a networking group that I was in, and he said, set your goals. What are those goals? And, I set a goal. This is the amount of revenue I want to make every single day for the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
6 months, and I looked at that goal every single day, just kind of stayed at top of mind. Okay, how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to make this happen? And I don't remember
can you share that daily goal? Oh, okay. I was gonna ask. Yeah.
I multiplied it out, and that number at the 6 month mark, it was within like $1 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you can make it happen. It's a lot of these things where it's like, okay, well, I'll never get to this point. That's just unreasonable.
Right.
It's, the mindset of how do I make that happen? How do I get there?
Yeah, it's
What
like
makes
if you, it's like one of the things I've learned recently is like if you're like, hey, I want to be $1 million company. Okay, well, that's gonna cost you X, like, or that's gonna take this, and then instead of saying like, man, I can't do that. Like, I can't see myself being $1 million company or $500,000 company, right? Like, just it seems impossible to get there, and then a good mentor or coach or even consultant will say, if you could get there, what would you do? Like, how would you do it? And then it gets you start thinking about, okay, so I would put this here and I would do this and I would hire this person, I would set this system up. And then you start getting into that kind of like groove of like doing those little, they say, improve by 3% every day. So you start doing those 3% things every day that then, and like you said, by the time 6 months comes, you're within $1 of your goal. I mean, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So, speaking of reaching goals and goal setting and being that close to goals, like, this is the Winning Tactics podcast, right? So, final question of the night. What does winning mean to you? What does it mean to win?
What does winning mean within my company? What does it mean within life?
All of it. What is it like? What does it mean to, it's like a measure of success, right? Like if you're doing something right, you're winning, right? So what is that measure for you?
My daily wins, what I always call my daily wins would be, when we meet with a customer and we see those pain points, we see that heartburn, just, what's constantly, bugging you, what's, where is this all happening? And then leaving that saying, we can take care of all of this. We can take that off your plate, and, and really, help elevate you to the next level. while taking all that burden off your plate. And, and that has to be a win-win situation. I've been in some, I've been in some win-lose.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they turned it into a lose-lose, but I've been in these lose-lose situations where the customer's willing to pay what we're asking, but they don't appreciate the value that you bring to the table.
Sure.
So therefore, if they don't see the value and they're just paying just to get rid of that heartburn, those pain points, then ultimately I find that those situations kind of fall out, whereas when it's a win, your customer understands the value that you bring to the table and, you're able to take care of all of their problems. That's great. I mean, that's a 10-year relationship thus far.
Yeah. It sounds like education is key. Sorry, there's a delay, but it sounds like education is key with your customers, like teaching them and showing them the different options they have and teaching them why it's important and seeing if that value of why it's important, how you explain is important to them as well. And then you have that win for both sides.
Right. Yep.
Awesome.
And then, to add to that, I would say, setting those expectations again, just when you have a disaster, how quickly do we respond? Whose responsibility is what are you actually paying for and what are you getting? All those little pieces, just so you're on the same page. And, communication, I think is also key. Just discussing, I mean, like with Integrity Technologies, we do so many things in the background. Our customers just, they don't even realize this is why things are working so smoothly. Hey, I never call you. What am I actually getting for this? You never call me because we're always fixing stuff, at 2 a.m., on a Saturday. So then you don't have any downtime, right?
Sounds like a cool idea for like a little bit of a biopic documentary, a day in the life, right? So getting on, doing a little 20-minute video of I'm just giving you an idea here, as a friend, but maybe just saying, hey, like this is what happens behind the scenes. And I think that might be, you may be able to use that to really show people like, what they're getting, and you just do it in one swoop so everyone can see it. You don't have to explain to every single person. It's just like, hey, this is what you get when you work with Integrity Technologies. This is what our weekend looks like to keep you up and going. And you're like the little, not the gremlin, because that's the bad thing, but you're like the magical little thing in the background making everything keep going, right? Making the gears turn and making the engineers, right, that make everything keep going. So, well, it's been a pleasure, man, and I super appreciate your long-term friendship that we've had and doing business together, and can't wait to do so much more with you. Thank you for sharing all these just golden tips of wisdom and your story with us. And, we look forward to, possibly having you again and talking more about things.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Josh. Feelings mutual, and I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, all our listeners, and have a great day. And, keep grinding and leading with integrity. Thanks so much.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Well, that wraps up yet another episode of the Winning Tactics Podcast. You can find Adam on both the LinkedIn and Facebook platforms. And to support the show and ensure the success of the podcast, would you kindly consider visiting Patreon.com/Adam Sinkus? We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, from the Winning Tactics Podcast, remember, culture is how your team behaves when no one is looking. Take good care, and thanks for listening.